Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me. I think it's my first time speaking to all these professors, and
Yes.
I'm just a humble teacher. I really take my hat off to all these colleagues who've done so much research and know so much. Mine is more about what I have observed in 30 years. I was invited here by several people. I'm sure you know them all. And I only came for 3 years, and this month it is 30 years you stay. And I think I could just, for the rest of my time, talk to Professor Matabate. My goodness me, the state of our kids. It's if I my eyes tear up, then you will understand why. The first picture, and I gave my talk School Effect because didn't want to talk about just the Math Center and what Math Center has done and all the wonderful resources we produce, laboratories. We kit schools with laboratories, small laboratories, large laboratories, many things. What gets to me, what tugs at my heart at what these kids can do, if only they had the opportunity. This year, we are supporting some 150 schools in total throughout the country. So that's about 70, 80,000 learners of different ages, starting with grade R all the way to TVET colleges. We run a program called Youth Squared, Daring to be Different. We push them into thinking what's their journey, what do they want to do, what is their vision, what makes them get up, and you're looking at an example of what they can do. It was a week's project in which they had to figure out how do we use solar panels to make anything around the house into a rechargeable battery. And they did that with CDs, believe it or not, and it does work. So, what is the foresight I'm talking about that's needed? My foresight is that the gaps are so huge, so big, so expansive that unless they all begin to be put right, I hope I'm wrong, absolutely, totally, with humility, unless at least, let's say, half of those gaps are not put right, we will be sitting discussing the same in years to come. And we work only in quintile 1, 2, and 3 schools, A, by choice, and B, that's where the need is. But we use the most modern methodology, blended learning, online classrooms. We have created many issues to do with digital transformation, because the key gap is when they enter grade 1, there's a gap already. So sometimes the success is very good at grade 1, but then it increases and increases in terms of disadvantage and lack of achievement because the curriculum gets bigger and more complex and so on. So what's the foresight of how? What is the solution? The solution is that cumulative gaps must be corrected. It must be understood what is mathematics. Mathematics, for me, it's a divine subject. It's a representation of the universe, of divinity. And it is in Mother Nature, it is in Mother Earth. And if we connect our kids to those, as we do at the Math Center, you'll be amazed what they can achieve. We had 180 distinctions last year from quintile 1, 2, and 3 schools, and then about 252 degree passes. Yes, of course, that makes you happy, but for every 10,000 kids we help, there's 100,000 kids next year who are in desperate help. So all of us together, we need to understand, what is this thing called the foresight? What do we gaze into in terms of these learners? And these are the gaps. Very quickly going to go through. Kids do not have records of achievement, and yet in AI, for digital transformation, we are constantly preparing them to be self-regulated. Most of them don't even have a desk at home. We do advocacy campaigns, as I said. One of them is Youth Square, Daring to be Different. GEM, of course. Girls are absolutely gems. You just saw so many examples in these 2 days. So I want that to filter through to our girls. We have a campaign for coding and robotics. When we can raise money, when we can raise data, then those schools, we can provide them with robots and with coding training and so on. Content gaps, all my colleagues are aware of that. But for me, the key issue is pedagogy gaps. It's like pedagogy is not even understood. It's so mechanical, the teaching. And to take them a step back and say, please check how learners learn. My PhD was looking at how learners learn in multilingual classrooms. And I was in Canada delivering a workshop to First Nations people when I met South Africans for the first time. And I was so excited, and that's why I came, because I thought multilingual children, yes, there'd be so much wonderful work to do. But what do I find? 30 years on, there is a war around language. No, I don't understand it. I was born, brought up under a tree. My classroom was under a tree back home in India, and then in England, brought up in terms of learning, going to university, working. And all I know is multilingualism was respected. But mathematics and science was taught in English. Classroom, the key where everything happens. When you walk into a Quintal 1 or 2 school, when you start a project, my head says, who does this classroom belong to? It's supposed to belong to the children. And we talk about scientific processes always. Hypothesize, design an experiment, make an inference, everything. But we rarely talk about the mathematical process, which is connections, communication, representation, problem solving, figuring out reasoning and proof. And I know thousands of kids who succeeded in senior phase, but just can't get their head around Euclidean geometry, can't get their head around so many things to do with the FET curriculum. Why? Because it's not connected to real life. No one even says, who was Euclid? Who was René Descartes? What is the Cartesian model? Where did it come from? Who was Ramanujan Nivasan? What is it that these people were so crazy about mathematics? And they were philosophers. And it goes on in that way. And all these, in my humble view, need to be looked at by teachers in order to, what happens instead? So where should be foresight? It should be in the classroom. Because I truly believe, and this is an observation, I think teachers must feel that they are like crocodiles in a swamp. Everyone's yapping at them. District wants this and department wants this, and there's ATPs, and there's a journey to the first SAB, then second, then third. And at the end of the day, as Anita Desai says in her wonderful book, God of Small Things, examinations must feel like being stuck in an ambulance. At the end of the journey, devoid of life, and most will be declared dead. So, foresight for whom? Learners and teachers. What kind of schools are we creating? Are we creating classrooms for conforming, for reforming, for informing, for deforming, or are we creating classrooms for transforming? Because we are meant to be in 2024. We are meant to be in the moving towards the middle of the 21st century. Digital kids, older people like me, very little knowledge, as my Z generation seems to have a lot more than me. And I believe that we need to make a conscientious choice as to what kind of pedagogy. So, foresight for schools. To be very honest, and I'm not being critical, perhaps they don't have resources, Perhaps they are demotivated. In fact, I know many teachers are demotivated. Please remember, I'm talking about quintile 1, 2, and 3 schools. It would be so wonderful to have a holistic department. We do learner performance tracking. For each of our learners, we can tell you, where are they in the first term? What gains are being made in the second term, and so on and so forth. My beloved schools can't often give me the school-based assessment results until the middle of the second term, and I'm asking for results for the first term. So, is this thing called technology new? I don't think so. It's a natural advancement of human creativity. When I was very young, my grandma used to look at the sky. She would wake up before me and she would say, "Why are you still sleeping? Orion's already in the sky." She was a grandma, so I couldn't be disrespectful to her, but my head would say, "Because I'm asleep, I can't see the Orion." But I knew as I grew up that she could feel the mathematics of the universe, the mathematics of the tandoor, the mathematics of her little stove in her very mitochondria, because she behaved that way. So it's nothing new. Foresight for youth. So what should schools do? All of this. They need to come back to why do we exist as teachers? Why do we exist as schools? Very simple. We have to be champions of our young people and our girls. My God, look at that picture. It's my favorite picture. Have you ever seen anything this beautiful? Then how does it get transferred into disappointment and pregnancies and joblessness and poor economy and you name it? Why does it? Why do we allow it? What do we do? What does Math Center do? All of those things. Donors join us in creating numeracy hubs. What are numeracy hubs? Very quickly, every single surface of a school should have mathematics, fractions, number ladders, chess, everything and anything painted on it. So the children can see mathematics all day, all day. And that's what we do. There's a long list. Not going to go through it. But when I went to the World Economic Forum to receive the Schwab Award, this particular picture killed me. And I thought, oh my goodness, our children have one meal a day. If lucky, it would be a balanced meal. And I am supposed to give them these foundation literacies, competencies, and character qualities because 5IR is going to expect this. How do you show empathy? How do you negotiate? You should have a great sense of humor. You should have a genuine interest in everyone. You should be able to trust others. They should be able to trust you. And if you're teachers, leadership skills must develop. It's been tough, but we have done it. We are now on to AI. Beginning of this year, my senior manager, Mamojo, comes to me and says, "Ms. Shan, what are we going to do? Kids are using AI to do their homework." Oh boy. I knew the first use they will see of chatbot will be take a photo of a mathematical problem, a chemistry problem, a physics problem, press the copilot to chatbot. Hey, I get the answer. But that is so dangerous and so damaging. So what do we do? What's the foresight? Each school must engage with training in how can AI be my friend and my learner's friend? How can it be a friend to make sure that we get the good impact that they deserve, a chance at it, that they understand that AI is a support mechanism. It isn't a cheating, copying mechanism. I have had so many kids And when I say to my manager, so what's the principal doing? He's throwing kids out because it's supposed to be violation of the code of practice. You're not supposed to bring any phones, and yet I have worked so many years to get some of them some smartphones and some good laptops and some smart tablets. And now they mustn't bring because teachers don't know what to do with AI. But are you going to stop this juggernaut lorry coming at our corporates, at our businesses, at our industry, at our research institutions? No, we are not. So we need to learn. We need to learn. Teachers need to learn. Teachers need to have a policy, how to use it in everyday life. How can a school use it? AI resistant assignments. I promise you, some of my kids have learned to do an assignment using AI and then check, paraphrase it so that when the teacher is checking, using if there's plagiarism, the teacher says, no, it's fine. It was done by the student. Foresight, mega foresight development needs to happen. All of these extraneous factors have become muddled, colleagues. It used to be exciting, enthusiastic, satisfying to engage in cooperation and collaboration with schools over all of these issues. We run another campaign, we run 11 campaigns called Parents Matter, Parents Count. And you know, they do matter, they do count, they do engage, they do participate if you just give them a chance. I haven't seen many good learner records of achievement other than records of their summative assessment. I wish I would see all of that, all of that. Schools need to be aware of the bigger picture. 400,000 learners each year end up trapped in poverty. Where do we go from here? And I always look at these pictures and think, they're excited, they're engaged, they love what they do. But I then ask, well, where is the Math Center taking them? I'm not happy with 100+ distinctions. I wish all 150,000 got at least degree passes. Would that not be wonderful? But then I'm not the only player. My last 5 minutes I want to spend on the language issue. Oh boy. Mathematics has its own language. Physics, chemistry has its own language. We cannot change that. We need to accept that. Every day, every day. Just take a simple example, average. I'll read one or two. It can be, well, I'm quite average looking, which is true of me. Less recognizable. Average, not particularly good or bad. And mathematically, it's the mean of a set of numbers. You add them all up and you divide by the total set of numbers. So all these are meanings of one word. And I've given lots of examples on the 4 slides. So please, I hope, I wish, I pray we can acknowledge, we can accept that it is not something you can translate. It has its own language. And unless you have an established system, a contested terrain, then we will all have different interpretations. Then we are not doing justice to our kids. If I had 15 minutes, when I do, I give my senior colleagues, when I'm going around making a presentation, to say, do this particular problem in under 3 minutes, because that's what kids get in a classroom. So thank you. And 2, a poem that has haunted me my whole life, and a statement by James Clear, who talks about atomic habits. Opportunities are grains of sand. They slide right past drooping fingers. but an active palm can gather whatever is within reach and shape into a little castle. So can we do that for our children, shape them castles of their vision? And Langston Hughes' poem, it's very sad. Please have a read. And thank you in mathematics. Thank you for listening.